An astronaut found a mysterious ball on an uncharted planet, thanks to which he realized that humans are not alone in the universe. At the beginning of the story, we see footage from the newsreel, which captures the brightest moments in the history of space exploration. Voiceover talks about the possibility of life on other planets. Humanity seeks to find alien creatures, but still cannot prove the existence of extraterrestrial life. Perhaps we are just an anomaly on a universal scale, but this is almost impossible. The question, where are the others, continues to disturb scientists for many years, and the answer to it will be the main discovery in the history of mankind. The action begins on the Magellan spacecraft, where astronaut Roger Nelson begins the mission. He contacts NASA Mission Control and reports that he has noticed interference in the monitors on board. The officer reassures Commander Nelson and informs them that they are downloading an artificial intelligence plugin. The astronaut jokingly remarks that belated corrections to the system are not very good, and asks not to tell his wife about it. But Abigail herself gets in touch. It is she who makes changes in the work of artificial intelligence. Roger tells her that in a year and a half he will wake up on Titan, the largest moon of Saturn. All control systems are in order. The center reminds Commander Nelson that the gravitational push will begin in 2 minutes and asks if he is ready for stasis, an extended fall into sleep. The astronaut puts off falling asleep and continues to admire the view from the porthole. The action moves to 2.5 years prior. Roger and his wife Abigail are relaxing and hanging out with friends when the astronaut is suddenly disturbed by NASA. He is informed that a space mission briefing will take place tomorrow. Abigail is very happy for her husband, because finally his dream will come true. He'll fly into space. At the briefing, NASA project manager Gerald Becker informs Nelson that 48 hours ago, the observatory detected a radio anomaly, a low-frequency pulse that repeats at regular intervals. After the first anomalous signal, the networks detected 2 more, but at higher frequencies. Becker notes that these sound messages create a perfect major tonal triad. In a sense, this is space music, but the signal is definitely artificial. Roger is shocked by this statement. He can't believe that something from the other side of the galaxy is sending a song to Earthlings. Nelson wonders where these mysterious signals come from. Becker claims that they all come from within the solar system. The first signal came from Titan, the second from Neptune's moon Triton, and the third from the dwarf planet Eris. The astronaut absolutely does not understand how this is possible. Now NASA is about to send Roger Nelson into space to find out why Earth has suddenly started receiving signals from different parts of the solar system. U.S. Secretary of Defense Craig Stewart explains to Roger that his mission is to go to these places, establish signal sources, collect samples and the transmitters themselves. Nelson may make first contact with the aliens, but the U.S. needs to hurry up and not let China get ahead of them. The ideal window for the launch of the ship will be only after 8 years, but there is also a less ideal one, in 2.5 years. At this very moment he'll need to fly out and overtake the Chinese at any cost. Nelson is aware of the importance of this mission and his role in it. Becker informs the astronaut that he will have to spend 10 years in space and leave his wife. The leader understands how difficult a decision Roger needs to make, and gives him the right to refuse such a long trip. But Commander Nelson cannot refuse the greatest discovery in the history of mankind and claims that he is ready for any test. Abigail doesn't share her husband's optimism at first. She is very upset, because she will have to wait so long for Roger, and he may never return to Earth. Abigail does not like that Roger blindly follows the orders of the minister, but still she understands that this mission is the dream of her husband's life, and she promises to support and wait for him to the end. The action shifts back to the spaceship where Roger spends the first day of the mission. The astronaut continues to prepare for stasis. He lies down in a special capsule where he will sleep for 18 months. Nelson says goodbye to his wife and tells Becker to take care of Abigail. 18 months pass. Nelson wakes up after the stasis. The commander is greeted by Ferdinand, an artificial intelligence who monitors the health of all ship systems. Roger asks Ferdinand about everything that happened on board while he was in stasis. The AI informs the commander that in 2 days the ship will cross the planetary orbit of Saturn, but for now it is processing data received from the reconnaissance probe. Roger learns that he received 229 important messages from NASA. The astronaut looks through them and finds a video from Abigail among the messages. She greets her husband and offers to play chess, naming the first move. Roger answers his wife and makes a move on his board. Ferdinand clarifies that the transmission time of information is 1 hour and 14 minutes, and it is now 2 a.m. on Earth. The AI invites Roger to play chess with him, but the astronaut refuses. Commander Nelson continues to review messages from NASA. From one of them, he learns that China has postponed the launch for a year, but their ship will go straight to Triton. Ferdinand says that despite this, their plans have not changed, and reports that in 10 minutes they will go into orbit of Titan. After successfully reaching the desired trajectory, Roger receives data from the reconnaissance probe. It is now known that the source of the mysterious signal is located near one of the methane lakes on Titan. Captain Nelson has to land in the glaciers and find the space transmitter. At the same time, everything needs to be done in just 6 hours in order to have time to get into the window of approach to Neptune. Ferdinand announces that a new video message has arrived for Roger. It's Becker, who congratulates Nelson on approaching Titan and reminds him of the importance of finding the source of the anomalous signal. He tells the astronaut that he offered Abigail to congratulate him in person, but she is going through a difficult period due to a nervous breakdown. Such news does not encourage Roger, but the man continues to move only forward. Commander Nelson begins undocking the landing module, and now a new artificial intelligence named Neil is in touch with him. She controls the entire landing procedure and fulfills all the requirements of the commander. Roger successfully lands on the Titan and leaves the lander. Nelson launches a hose from the module into the lake to collect samples, and he takes all the necessary equipment and goes in search of the mysterious transmitter. Neil relays Ferdinand's message to Roger and says that a storm is coming from the east with strong winds and the danger of an explosion of methane fumes. But Commander Nelson is almost there. He discovers that the source of the signal is right in the lake of liquid methane. Realizing that he has no other options, Roger enters the dangerous liquid. Already at a shallow depth, the astronaut notices a small glass ball. It is this object that sends the anomalous signals. Nelson is amazed at his find, but Neil reestablishes contact and urges the commander to get back on board quickly as the storm is very close. Roger manages to get back into the module and orders Neil to start the engines, but she informs him that the methane evaporation rate is too high and there is a risk of burning the rocket, so they will have to wait for the storm to end. This was not part of Roger's plans, and he is worried about missing the window to the next destination. While waiting to take off, Roger decides to take a closer look at the alien artifact. Neil says that nothing but a radio signal was found in the object, and reminds that mission protocol requires it to be stored. However, Nelson decides to break the rules. He takes off his glove and touches the space transmitter with his finger.
Sir, the properties of the object are unknown. I must advise you not to...
Suddenly, the ball reacts to touch. Roger doesn't understand what happened. Neil reports that the radio signal cut off for a moment when the commander touched the orb. Nelson is shocked by the inexplicable outbursts and hopes that breaking protocol won't backfire. The storm ends and it's time to fly away. The commander must return to the Magellan in time so as not to miss the window to Neptune. Nelson leaves Titan's orbit and heads for Neptune using a gravitational slingshot. He immediately contacts Mission Control and reports his incredible find. Soon a response message arrives from Officer Becker. He congratulates Nelson on the discovery and says that the center and the ministry will look forward to a full analysis. Becker reminds that during the study it is necessary to follow all the protocols and try not to spoil the object. The commander decides to record another message in which he admits that he has already touched the object with his bare hands and that the transmitter responded to the contact with sound and light. Now Nelson wants to repeat the experiment and record it on video. While waiting for a response from Becker, Roger is investigating methane samples from the lake. Amino acids are found in the liquid, which means that life is possible on the planet. Nelson is extremely happy with these results. Suddenly, Roger receives a message from Abigail. She talks about a big problem. Some Chinese hacker hacked into her computer and tried to access information about the mission. The Secretary of Defense threatens to completely ban Abigail from the center. The woman is very upset, because she may lose the only opportunity to communicate with her husband. It has only been a year and a half, but to Abigail it already seems that her husband will not return. Nelson records a response message for his wife, urging her to hold on and hope for the best. He voices his chess move and prepares for stasis again. Another 32 months pass. Roger wakes up. Ferdinand reports that the reconnaissance probe could not collect data from Triton, which means that they will have to look for the source of the signal on this planet on their own. Also during stasis, Ferdinand detected some anomaly in the found sphere. At the same time, Roger's brain registered increased activity, which occurs during normal sleep, but is impossible in stasis. Many inexplicable pictures really flash through Roger's mind, just like at the moment of touching the mysterious ball. Officer Becker contacts Roger and informs him that the center is trying to decipher an anomalous signal that looks like something like a binary code. From messages received during stasis, Nelson learns that the probe's malfunction may have been due to the Chinese hacking it. Interference was also noticed in the work of Ferdinand, which could also have arisen due to a hacker attack. Commander Nelson again goes off protocol and repeats the experiment. And again, because of the transmitter, inexplicable images begin to flash before Roger's eyes. Due to a sharp increase in brain activity, Roger becomes ill. Ferdinand records what is happening and sends the video to Mission Control. Meanwhile, the ship reaches Triton's orbit. Roger receives a message from Baker that something went wrong with the Chinese and 3 astronauts passed away. This frightens the captain, but he needs to continue working. The Magellan systems are forced to explore Triton on their own, which takes extra time. Now Roger needs to find the second transmitter as soon as possible so as not to miss the window to Eris. The astronaut is already near the crater, from which the signal comes. Roger finds out that the transmitter is at a depth of 50 meters. He is going to go down into the crater without any equipment, because he has only 15 minutes to do it. A few minutes later, Nelson finds another sphere. He puts the transmitter and ice sample in a container, and now he has 9 minutes to get out of the crater and get to the lander. Climbing up a rocky crater, Roger accidentally drops the transmitter container. It's only 4 minutes before departure, but he's coming back for the samples. A couple of seconds before departure, Roger manages to get to the module and he instructs Neil to start the engines and show the trajectory of Eris. On the Magellan, Roger records a video for the center in which he says that he found another transmitter, and also took a sample of ice for analysis. Nelson is studying alien ice when he receives a message from Abigail. 4 years have passed, and she suffers greatly without her husband. The woman is tormented by fear for Roger's life. The astronaut is upset by such messages from his wife, but he always has something to distract himself with. Ferdinand finishes analyzing the ice from Triton. This is water with many impurities, which is not at all like terrestrial water. Ferdinand also noticed some radio anomalies. It discovered on Triton an underground ocean under an ice crust 1.5 kilometers thick. And near this crust, artificial intelligence recorded inexplicable moving objects. Roger makes the fantastic guess that they are fish, but this is almost impossible in Triton's conditions. The Secretary of Defense contacts Roger and informs that now only he will communicate with the astronaut, and civilians, and Abigail in particular, are now forbidden to send messages. The minister also orders to stay away from transmitters until their nature is clarified, because they can be very dangerous. However, Roger is inexplicably drawn to the mysterious spheres, and he again touches them, but already two at the same time. He again sees the mysterious pictures and his own memories. Commander Nelson successfully lands on Eris and finds the third sphere there, but it is clearly different from the first two, all covered with mucus, possibly of organic origin. After taking all the necessary samples from the surface of the planet, Roger returns to the lander. Suddenly there are problems when docking the module with the ship. However, Ferdinand says that everything is in order and the journey can continue. Roger realizes that it may have been hacked again. The astronaut orders the artificial intelligence to clear all its memory and check the security systems. Soon Ferdinand is ready for full-fledged work again. Roger examines the specimen found on Eris. Ferdinand finishes processing the tests and declares that DNA has been found in the sample. Nelson cannot believe this stunning news. The inspired astronaut turns to Mission Control and Abigail and tells them about the amazing find. Research has not yet been completed, but it is already clear that the greatest discovery has taken place. Now he knows for sure that there is life in space. Roger informs Minister Stewart of the problems with Ferdinand and advises him to check the defense system. And for the duration of the test, the astronaut takes control of the ship under his control. 4 hours pass, but Commander Nelson is still waiting for a response from the control center. He continues to view matter from Eris and communicates with Ferdinand. The artificial intelligence claims that the center is busy checking its systems, but everything is working properly and there is no reason to worry. Roger takes the third transmitter out of the container and places it next to the others. He repeats his touch experiment and then decides to put all three spheres together. Nelson again sees strange pictures, but now a little more detailed than before. However, after a couple of moments, the visions are interrupted by a deafening sound signal. Ferdinand reports that it was a huge stream of radio signals. Several million messages passed through the ship's communication system. Inexplicably, the spheres gained access to audio channels. Roger is putting the alien artifacts back together and wants Ferdinand to analyze the mysterious signals. It turns out that an endless stream of radio transmissions comes from different places in the galaxy, and all these signals are transmitted through the spheres to the onboard communication system. Ferdinand displays information about signal sources. The signals are transmitted at the same time, but it is not known whether this occurs in real time or whether they originated at a certain point in the distant past. Ferdinand suggests that all the numerical markings of the signals could indicate the age of the universe down to seconds, but he doubts that interstellar signals are based on Earth seconds. Roger tries to make sense of these inexplicable facts. He believes that if these signals were transmitted by creatures similar to humans, then a second would be the minimum value of time. There would be a common time for the entire universe, the time that is needed for breathing, heartbeat or words. Mysterious pictures of prehistoric nature appear before Roger's eyes. Ferdinand believes that signals cannot travel through the entire cosmos without spending a lot of time. But Roger suggests that the aliens are using quantum entanglement to output signals to radio waves. He wants to learn as much as possible about the nature of the signals, and Ferdinand finds out that all the binary data of the signals is encoded in the DNA code. Suddenly, Ferdinand picks up another signal. It comes from the Oort cloud and is located far beyond the explored areas of the solar system. It will take Roger 38 years to get to the source of the signal, assuming Magellan continues to function. Commander Nelson realizes that he cannot retreat and return home. He must go through this space journey to the end and try to find out the truth about extraterrestrial life. Roger writes a message to Abigail, explaining his decision to fly to the Oort cloud and asking for forgiveness for the difficult years of waiting. He says the signals are calling him and he needs to move forward. Now Abigail is free and can start life from scratch. He makes the last move in their chess game, which will give Abigail the victory. The astronaut instructs Ferdinand to set a trajectory for the signal into the Oort cloud. NASA and the Department of Defense are against such a decision by the commander. Becker demands control of the Magellan be returned to the center and tries to convince Roger to return home and deliver the collected samples for analysis. But the commander disobeys Becker's orders and prepares to start a new mission. Roger Nelson realizes that he will not survive the endless space journey, but such is his way. What would you do in the place of Commander Nelson? Would you obey the order or would you go towards the unknown? Share your thoughts in the comments, like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.